both immediately into the house, as any house would have, showed that they still have some sense of shame there.
They have been eating muffins. That seems like repentance.
They don't seem to notice us at all.
Couldn't you cough? But I have not got a cough.
Oh, they are looking at us. What effrontery.
They're approaching. That's very forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly. It is the only thing to do now.
This dignified silence seems to have an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful one.
But we shall not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, as frequently quoted to answer him, much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
Well, naturally so that I could come up and see you.
That certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't, but that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
Mr. Worthing, for what reason do you have in pretending to have a brother? Was it so that you might have the opportunity to see me in town as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon it, but I intend to crush them. Explanations seem to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing, as that to me has the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
So, do you think that we should forgive them?
Yes, I mean no.
Of course, there are principles at stake that one cannot surrender, but who should be the one to tell them? The task is not a pleasant one.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I almost always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time for me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still in the Cypriot barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? And we are going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you are prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
To please me, you're ready to face this fearful ordeal?
Of course I am.
How odd to speak of equality among the sexes. Where one's self-sacrifice is concerned, men are invariably beyond us.
We are.
Darling!
They have moments of physical courage of which we women know absolutely nothing.
Darling.
Lady Bracknell.
Good heavens.
Gwendolyn, what does this mean?
Merely that I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing. Mama?
Come here. Sit down. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young, of physical weakness in the old. Apprise her of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusted maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin. I followed her at once by luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I am glad to say, under the impression that she's extending a rather lengthy lecture at the University Extension Scheme on the permanent influence on the income of thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. I have never undeceived him on any question. I consider it wrong. But of course you will understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately. On this point, as indeed all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to be married to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind. Now as regards to Algernon. Algernon,
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
is it in this house that your invalid friend Mr. Bunbury resides?
Oh, no. Bunbury doesn't live here. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did Mr. Bunbury die? And his death must have been extremely sudden.
Yes, Bunbury seems to be quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I wasn't aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If he wasn't, he's indeed punished for his morbidity.
No. What I mean to say is that Bunbury's physicians found that he could not live. Therefore, Bunbury died.
Mr. Bunbury seems to have great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. But I am glad that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind at the last and acted on the proper medical advice. And now that we are rid of this Mr. Bunbury, Mr. Worthing, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon seems to be holding in the most peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
And I do not know if there's anything peculiarly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements seem to me to be above the proper average. The statistics have been laid down for our guidance. Though some preliminary inquiries on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected with any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I wasn't aware that the family or person's origin was autonomous.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Guernsey Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Sporran, Fifeshire, NB.
It's quite satisfactory. 3 addresses inspires confidence in anyone, even in tradesmen. What proof have I of their authenticity?
The court guides of the period are open to inspection, Lady Bracknell.
Well, I've noticed some strange errors in those publications.
Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, Markby and Markby.
Markby, Markby and Markby, a firm with the highest position in their profession. I have heard that one of Mr. Markby's may be seen out at dinner sometimes. And so far I'm satisfied.
How very kind of you, Lady Bracknell. You will also be pleased to hear that I have in my possession certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, Hoover, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both German and English variety.
A life crowded with incident, I see. Though somewhat exciting for a young girl. I do not approve of premature experiences. Come dear, the time has come for our departure. We have not a moment to lose. Though, as a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, does Miss Cardew have any little fortune?
About £130,000 in the funds. That is all. So pleased to have seen you, Lady Bracknell.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. £130,000 in the funds. Well, Miss Cardew is the most attractive young lady now that I look at her. What? There are few girls at the present day that have any real qualities, none that last and improve with time. We live, I'm afraid to say, in the native surfaces. Come over here, dear. Pretty child. Your dress is sadly simple, and your hair looks as if nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all that. A thoroughly experienced French maid can produce marvellous results in very little time. I remember recommending one to young lady dancing, and after 3 months her own husband didn't know her.
And after 6 months, nobody did.
Turn around for me, sweet child. No, the side view is what I want. Yes, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The difference in our ages is our want of principle and our want of profile. The chin a little higher here. Style largely depends on the way the chin is worn, and it's worn very highly at present. Algernon.
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
Miss Cardew has distinct social possibilities in her profile.
Cecily is the prettiest, sweetest girl I know, and I don't care tuppence about social possibility.
Do not speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. My dear child, as you are aware, Algernon has nothing to depend upon but his debts, and I do not approve of mercenary marriages. But when I met Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I didn't allow that of getting in my way. I suppose I must consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
And you may address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Well, I suppose the marriage must take place as soon as possible.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I do not approve of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of finding out about them, which I think is never advisable.
Excuse me, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you, but I do not agree with this engagement. I decline to give my consent.
Upon what grounds? Algernon is an extremely, I may say even ostentatiously eligible young man.
It pains me very much, Lady Bracknell, to speak frankly of you about your nephew, but I don't trust his moral character. I believe him of being untrustworthy.
Untrustworthy? My nephew Algernon? He's an Oxonian.
I can fear that there can be no doubt about the matter. Earlier this afternoon, during my temporary absence in London, on an important question of romance, he obtained admission into my house under the false pretenses of being my brother. And under the assumed name, he drank, I have just been informed by my butler, an entire bottle of Perrier Jouet Blue 89 wine I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward, and subsequently ate every last muffin. What makes his conduct all the more worse is that he knew from the moment I met him that I did not have a brother, that I have never had a brother, and I do not have the smallest intentions of ever having a brother in the future. I told him so yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided to overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
How extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. My decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come over here, dear. How old are you?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 when I go to evening parties.
And so you should. A woman should never be accurate about her age. You look so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties. Well, you'll soon come of age and be free from the restraints of your tutelage, so I don't think your guardian's consent is of any vital importance.
Pray excuse me again, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you, but it is only fair for you to know that according to Miss Cardew's grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come of age until she is 35.
It is no grave matter. London society is full of women of the highest birth who of their own free will have been 35 for years. Lady Dumbleton's appointment, she's been 35 ever since she reached the age of 40, and that was some years ago now. I don't see why our dear Cecily won't be even more attractive for the age you mentioned. And there'll be a large accumulation of property.
Algy, could you wait for me till I was 35?
Could you doubt it?
No, I felt instinctively that you could. But I couldn't wait all the time. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. It always makes me rather cross. I'm not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in others. And waiting, even to be married, is quite out of the question.
Well then, what are we supposed to do?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew positively states that she cannot wait until she is 35, a remark which might serve to suggest a somewhat impatient nature, I would beg of you to reconsider.
I'm afraid the decision is entirely in your hands, Lady Bracknell. As soon as you agree to my engagement with Gwendolyn, I will gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
What you ask is out of the question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all we can look forward to.
This is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolyn. Algernon, on the other hand, would choose for himself. Come, dear. We have missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more would expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christening, sir, is that not somewhat premature?
Both these gentlemen have expressed a desire for immediate baptism.
At their age, the idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized, or Bracknell will be most displeased to hear that's how you waste your time and money.
Am I to understand, then, that there are to be no christenings this afternoon at all?
I don't think as things stand as they are, Dr. Choisewood, there'll be much need of them.
I am grieved to hear such sentiment from you, Mr. Worthing.
They savor of the heretical views of the Anabaptists, views I have refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. However, as your current mood seems to be peculiarly secular, I shall return to the church at once. Indeed, I have just been informed by the pew opener that for the last hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Why, yes, I am on my way to see her now.
Pray, allow me to detain you for one moment. It's a matter of great importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female appellant remotely connected to education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies and the very picture of respectability.
Well, it's evidently the same person. What position does she hold in your household?
I am celibate, madam.
For the last 3 years, Miss Prism has been the esteemed governess and faithful companion of Miss Cardew.
Despite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
She approaches. She is now.
I was told you waited for me in the vestry, dear Count. I have been waiting there for an hour and 3/4.
Prism! Prism! Where is that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's household, 104 Upper Grosvenor Square, in charge of a perambulator containing a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, through the elaborate schemes of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered in a dark corner of Bayswater, containing a manuscript of the most revolting sentimentality. But the baby was not there. Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, it is with regret that I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain matters of the fact are these. On the day that you mentioned, a day that is forever marked in my memory, I intended to take the baby out for a stroll in its perambulator, as I always do. With me I had a somewhat old but capacious handbag, which I intended to place a manuscript, a work of fiction that I had written in my few unoccupied hours. But in a moment of madness, I put the manuscript in the perambulator and the baby in the handbag.
Where did you deposit that handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, this is of no small importance to me. Where did you deposit the handbag?
In one of the larger coach stations of London.
But which station?
Victoria, the Brighton line.
I must retire to my dressing room. Gwendolyn, will you wait for me?
If you are not too long, I would wait all my life.
What do you think this means, Lady Bracknell?
I dare not even suspect Dr. Chasfield. Need I remind you that in families of high positions, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are hardly considered a thing.
Your guardian has a very emotional nature.
It sounds as if he was having an argument, and I do not like arguments. They are vulgar and often convincing.
It has stopped now.
I wish he'd arrived at some conclusion.
Oh, the suspense is terrible. Oh, I hope it lasts.
Miss Prism, examine this handbag carefully. The happiness of more than one person relies on your truth.
It seems to be mine. Yes, here is the injury it received through the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. And here is the stain on the lining caused by a temperance beverage that exploded during a occurrence in Leamington. And yes, here are my initials engraved on the lock. I forgot I had them placed there in an extravagant mood. The bag undoubtedly is mine. It is a great pleasure to be related back to the bag. It has been a great occurrence of many years.
More is restored to you than just the handbag. I was the baby placed inside it.
You?
Yes, Mother.
Mr. Worthing, I am unmarried.
Unmarried. I do not deny that this is a serious blow. But who among us has the right to cast stone against someone Why are there one law for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you.
Mr. Worthing, there is some error. There is the lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Brandon, would you kindly inform me who I am?
I am afraid the answer I'm about to give you will not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently Algernon's elder brother.
Algy's elder brother. Good heavens. Cecily, how could you ever doubt that I had a brother? Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. Algy, you young scoundrel. You have never treated me like a brother in all your life. You will have to treat me with more respect from now on.
Well, never till this day I have really tried. I will try from now on, though.
My own. But what own are you, now that you have become someone else? What is your Christian name?
I had quite forgotten about that. I suppose your decision is still irreversible?
I never change. Except in my affections.
What a noble nature you have, Gwendolyn.
Thank you.
Lady Brandon, would you kindly inform me if I have been christened by the time of the incident?
Every luxury that money could buy, including christening, had been lavished upon you by your doting parents.
Then I was christened. What is my Christian name? And let me hear the worst.
Well, being the eldest, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was my father's Christian name?
I cannot, at the present moment, recall what the general's Christian name was. No doubt he had one. The general was eccentric, but that was only after marriage, and the Indian climate, and indigestion, and other things of that kind.
Algy, I don't suppose you recall what our father's Christian name was?
My dear fellow, we were never on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
I suppose his name would appear in the army journals of the period?
The general was essentially a man of peace, except in his domestic life. Though I'm sure his name would appear in any military directory.
These journals the journals of the past 40 years have been, they should have been my constant study. Generals. Mallon, Maxbon, Mackley. What ghastly names they have. Marksby, Miggs, Mobbs, Moncrief, Lieutenant, 1840, Captain, Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel, General, 1869, Christian names, Earnest, John. I told you, Gwendolyn, my name is Ernest. Well, it is Ernest. I mean, naturally, it is Earnest.
Ah, now I recall the general's Christian name was Earnest. I knew there was a reason I disliked the name.
My own Earnest. I knew from the start that you could have no other name.
It is a very troubling thing to find out that all your life you have been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you ever forgive me?
Of course I can. For I'm certain that you're going to change.
My own one.
Letitia!
Frederick, at last!
At last!
Gwendolyn, darling, at last.
My dear nephew, you seem to be showing signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I have finally realised for the first time in my life the vital importance of being earnest.
Thank you.